Hello, the screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. আচ্ছা তোমরা বলো তো তোমাদের কতজন স্ট্রেংথ আছে কমিউনিকেশনে? এক এক দিন এক এক রকম আমি পাচ্ছি, যদিও সবাই অ্যাটেন্ড করে না, কিন্তু তাও I didn't know exactly. Can you tell me? 14 স্ট্রেংথ, তাহলে আজকে 20 দেখাচ্ছে কি করে? মানে 21, আমাকে নিয়ে 22 দেখাচ্ছিল, এখন আবার 19 18 এরা কমছে। তোমরা কি সবার কাছেই এই মেল আইডিটা পাঠিয়েছো নাকি? কি অবস্থা, তারা নিজেরা জানে না কি তারা সেই সাবজেক্টটা নিয়েছে, কখন ক্লাস আছে? তোমাদের কি এখন ফিজিক্যালি ক্লাস হচ্ছে না বলে তোমরা এগুলো সব ভুলে যাও? ওকে ফাইন, দ্যাট ইজ নট মাই লুক আউট, কিন্তু তোমরা যখন ক্লাস টেস্ট বা সেমিস্টারের আগে তোমাদের রোল নাম্বার গুলো লিখে আমাকে পাঠিয়ে দিও কিন্তু,
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
বুঝেছো? ওকে, লেট মি স্টার্ট। Now we have studying transmission medium. So eco. Okay, but we have studied twisted pair cable, and in twisted pair cable, what we have seen that there are various categories of twisted pair cable, and as the number of twists we can increase, the data rate will increase. Why the data rate it will increase? Because the bandwidth of the transmission medium will increase. And also with increasing in number of twists, we can eliminate the external electromagnetic interference. More than that, if the number of twists in a twisted pair cable is less. Now, besides twisted pair cable, we have a coaxial cable. It can be used as a transmission medium. So from the diagram, what we have seen, this is the main copper wire which is actually carrying the information signal. And from here, we have found that it is covered by or it is separated from this copper mesh by this insulating medium. And this copper mesh will act as a shield, and then it is again covered, the whole thing, this copper mesh insulation and a copper wire, which is the main conductor for carrying the information signal, is covered with an insulation or a plastic cover. Now we call this to be a coaxial cable because the copper center of the copper mesh coincides with the center of the main conductor, that is why we called it to be coaxial. So, and this sheet, it is grounded, and to protect the main conductor, which is nothing but this copper wire, from external electromagnetic interference, because then external interference will bypass through this shield and may not affect the actual wire which is carrying the information signal. So these physical characteristics is being written here. Central conductor layer is a thin conducting wire made up of solid copper. Then we have a dielectric layer which acts as an insulation. it surrounds the copper wire. Then we have a shield layer which surrounds the dielectric layer with a metal foil or braided. This is braided and it is called copper mesh, and the whole assembly is then wrapped in a insulating jacket, and both the conductor and shield share a common central axis and hence the term coaxial. Now, with respect to shielded or unshielded twisted pair, here since it is protected from external interference, so data rate will be high, which is 500 Mbps, and repeater spacing is every 10 kilometer. In twisted pair cable, we have to use repeaters every 5 to 6 kilometer, and this is used to transmit both analog and digital signals. Now, where it has been used in Ethernet local area network or LAN is made up of a coaxial cable, though we can use twisted pair cable also, and it is used for cable TV distribution. Now we have two types of coaxial cable. One is known as baseband coaxial cable and another is known as broadband coaxial cable. Now baseband coaxial cable is used to carry baseband signals without any modulation, so that only one information signal we can able to send through the cable. But if we want to send more information signal simultaneously at the same instant of time, we have to use separate coaxial cable if we are using baseband type coaxial cable. And broadband coaxial cable, here we are going to send the information signal with modulation. That means we are going to modify the signal with an high frequency carrier. And why we do modulation? তোমরা এটা এখন জানো তো, you are now quite know that why we are using modulation. Hello. What modulation actually does. Hello? Hello? Tell me why we do modulation. I couldn't hear you properly. This is the main reason of using modulation. Hello? Primary function of the modulation is to shift the frequency spectrum of the original information signal or a baseband signal. Have you seen that? By doing modulation, we can change the frequency spectrum of the signal. That means the information signal and the modulated signal, which we get after modulation, their frequency spectrum will be different. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so that the one signal will not interfere the frequency spectrum of the other signal, and we will choose carrier frequency in such a way that by modulation, when we shift the frequency spectrum of the signal, there will be a sufficient gap in frequency of the two signals, and this we call a guard band. So then the frequency spectrum of the signals will not overlap each other, and we can able to send more signals simultaneously or more informations simultaneously through a single transmission medium. That is why, that is the characteristics of the broadband coaxial cable, because it carries the modulated signal. Clear did the difference between the baseband coaxial cable and broadband?
Yes, ma'am.
Now the advantages, yeah, tell me. Yeah, my voice is echo, but I couldn't see why it is so happen. I mean, pardon? Oh, okay. Yes. Might be. Let me cut. Yes. Am I audible? Okay, now, yeah, thank you
Yes,
very
ma'am.
much for the information. So now the advantages, now since it is covered, oh, screen share is off. Okay. Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now since now we have a shield here, because the actual conductor which is carrying the information signal is shielded, so it is less susceptible to external electromagnetic interference, and for that reason the bandwidth it will increase the data rate. We can able to carry more data through coaxial cable than that of a twisted pair, and higher bandwidth, higher, since we obtained higher data rate as a result of higher bandwidth, which is nearly 600 megahertz, and it is expensive with respect to twisted pair cable, but inexpensive with respect to optical fiber. And the disadvantages is it is bulky. Now we come across the optical fiber. Now optical fiber, here we are converting electrical information into a light information. Now if we are going to send the digital one, then it is converted to light is on, and if we are sending digital 0, it corresponds to light signal will off. And since the we are not going to send electrical signals, we are going to send light signals, and the range of this light signal frequency, we will see it will be much higher than that of a coaxial cable. So the data rates here will be high, and again high because the light is not affected by external electromagnetic interference. So that is why, but if we are considering the cost of transmission, now the cost of optical fiber will be much higher than that of a coaxial or twisted pair cable. But since we have the advantages will dominate the disadvantage of optical fiber, so nowadays we are using optical fiber to send the information signal. And here the source of light by which we can convert electrical signal into an optical signal, we are going to use LED or laser, and the transmission medium will be optical fiber. And we have different types of optical fiber. We have single mode fiber and a multi-mode fiber. In single mode fiber, we have a single ray of light pass through the cable, whereas in multi-mode fiber, since it is multi-mode, so that more than one ray of light will pass through the optical fiber. And as a result, since more than one ray of light will pass through the optical fiber in multi-mode fiber, and this ray of lights will travel through the fiber at different speed. So at the receiving end side, this will come at different instant of time. So, and this will result in a dispersion of a light, which will known as optical dispersion. Let's see the mm, different characteristics of single mode and multi-mode fiber. So in single mode, what we have seen, we have a single ray of light here, but here we have different rays of light here. We have three different rays of light, and these are coming at the different instant of time. So if the input pulse will be like this, we will get an output pulse of shape like this. There are many other reasons for this, but one of the reason is known as dispersion, which is known as multimodal dispersion. Now, since it will carry different, more than one rays of light signal, and these rays of light signals will travel through the fiber at different speed. And here we have a single ray of light. So here no dispersion will occur. So the input what we have given at the beginning of a fiber, that we will get from the output of the fiber. So this is the input pulse and this is the output pulse. So there will be no difference. Now, due to this, the single mode fiber will again be more expensive than that of a multi-mode fiber. And also from the diagram, what we have seen, now this is the main core, which is shown as a white color, and this is the cladding. And here, from here, what we have seen, the core diameter will be more in optical fiber than that of the single mode fiber, because this white area is core and the outer areas which is known as cladding. And that's why the core diameter will be 5 micrometer to 10 micrometer in case of single mode fiber, whereas for multi-mode fiber, core diameter will be 50 micrometer to 100 micrometer. And detector, which will convert again this light signal is into an electrical signal, it is the photodiode. Now, physical characteristics of that, it has three concentric sections. One is the main core or main fiber, which will carry the information signal. And then we have a cladding which surrounds the core. And this core and glass is made up of material glass, but the refractive index of the glass will not be same as that of the refractive index of the glass used for a cladding. And then this core and cladding is covered with a jacket which is used for mechanical protection of the fiber, and it is made up of a plastic material. So the core, it is the innermost section and consists of one or more very thin fibers made of glass or plastic. The cladding, core surrounds by the cladding, which is again glass or plastic coating that has optical properties different from core, and cladding is of less dense glass or plastic. And the jacket outermost layer, it protects against fiber against moisture crushing and environmental danger. Now, how the by which principle the light is confined within the core itself, because we know light has a reflection and a refraction and properties from the optical laws we know, but the properties by which the information signal can be sent through the optical fiber, and that property is known as total internal reflection. Now, how it can be achieved? Say I is the angle of incidence. Now here, when the say this is more dense and this is less dense medium, say this is core and the outside will be a cladding material. Now when the light rays will incident at an angle say I, and it will be reflected, this will be the reflected ray, and angle say it is reflection angle 1. Now then if we change the angle of incidence, then this will be the reflection which is 90° to this to the normal, this surface. This is cladding and this is the core. But if the angle of incidence will greater than that, which is here, this is known as the critical angle, for which we have a 90° reflection, then that angle is known as the critical angle. So the still the light is not confined within the core, but if we increase the critical angle more than that, or which is equivalent to the incident angle, then we have seen the light is confined within the core itself. So this is known as total internal reflection, and this property of light is being used to send the information through the optical fiber. Clear? Now the communication, since we have different types of fibers, which is single mode and multi-mode, and of course we have seen from the characteristics of the fiber that single mode fiber carry a single ray of light, whereas a multi-mode fiber will carry more than one ray of light. So the repeater, or which we call regenerator, if we are using multi-mode optical fiber, because it is less costlier than that of a single mode fiber, every 10 kilometer we have to use a regenerator or a repeater. Whereas in case of single mode fiber, every 40 to 80 kilometer we have to use single mode, we have to use regenerator or a repeater. So the advantages of optical fiber over coaxial cable and twisted pair cable, the data rate will be high, 2 Gbps, 2 gigabit per second over 10 kilometer, smaller size and lighter weight, lower attenuation than since it is a light signal, so it will be less attenuated than that of a twisted pair or coaxial cable, because there we are going to send electrical signal. Then electromagnetic isolation, because lights are not affected by the external electromagnetic fields, so error rate will be less, and greater repeater spacing we can obtain with the help of single mode fiber. Now disadvantages is expensive if we are using it over a short distance, and it requires highly skilled labor to install the optical fiber. Now here some comparisons have been shown between the guided mediums that we have used to transmit information. You can go through it, and I hope it will be easily understandable by you, so I'm not going to repeat this. So these three are the guided transmission medium, and then we have a unguided medium where we are not going to use any physical medium. Now we call it to be wireless. Previously these are the wired medium. Now wireless medium, here the information is being transmitted as an electromagnetic waves, and we know the electromagnetic waves can pass through the air or without any guided medium. But here, to transmit and receive the signal in unguided medium, we have to use antennas, and the purpose of there will be an antenna at the transmitting side as well as at the receiving end side. Now what is the main purpose of these antennas? It will convert electrical energy into electrical signal into an electromagnetic waves, whereas receiving antenna will again convert electromagnetic waves into an electrical signal. And this when the signals passes through the unguided medium, some medium are directional and some are omnidirectional. Some unguided media are directional and some unguided media are omnidirectional. Omnidirectional means it will propagate through all the direction, and directional means there will be a specific line of sight, or the transmitting and receiving antenna is so placed that there will be we require a line of sight uh, uh, between so that the electromagnetic waves travels through it. Now we have different types of unguided medium. One is microwave, and another is a radio wave. Then we have an infrared, or we are using satellite transmission. We are using satellite, we use terrestrial microwave, and we are using radio. Now wave properties, now from this what we have seen, microwave, radio wave, microwave, infrared, they have a higher frequency than that of a twisted pair or a coaxial cable, so the data rates will be high. So wave properties, radio, microwave, infrared is all used for transmitting information by modulating amplitude. That means if you are using radio wave, we have to choose radio frequency carrier, or the carrier frequency should be within the radio range frequencies, and the information signal is modulated with an RF carrier. And we know that we can modulate the frequency, amplitude, and phase of the carrier, because carrier is nothing but a sinusoid whose frequency is higher than that of an information signal. And by modulating the frequency, amplitude, and phase of the carrier with information signal, we can able to send the information, which we call amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, and phase modulation. Now, if we are using ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, the frequency range, because from here we have seen X-ray, UV ray, X-ray, and gamma ray, they have higher frequency than that of the microwave, radio waves. Now, higher frequency means higher bandwidth, so the data rate will be higher if we are using these as a transmission medium, but they are hard to produce and hard to modulate. That is why we couldn't able to use these. Now, I have told you just now, we have two types of configurations for wireless transmission. One is directional and another is omnidirectional. Now, in directional, the transmitting antenna puts out a focused electromagnetic beam, and the transmitting and receiving antennas must therefore be carefully aligned. And omnidirectional, the transmitted signal will proceed out all directions and can be used by many antennas. So this is for the used for radio broadcasting system, because for radio we have one transmitter and there will be multiple receivers. And the frequency range for both directional and omnidirectional, since it is directional, so the frequency range will be higher than that of an omnidirectional signals. And frequencies in the range of about 2 gigahertz to 40 gigahertz are referred to as microwave frequencies. This is directional. And frequency range to 30 megahertz to 1 gigahertz suitable for omnidirectional, referred to as a broadcast radio range or radio waves. And the frequency range which falls in this category, it is known as infrared. Now, radio transmission, I have told you that here we are using radio frequency carrier to modulate the information signal, and we need both the antenna at the transmitting end side and the receiving end side. The transmitting antenna will convert the electrical signal or modulated signal in an electromagnetic waves which propagates through free space. The receiving antenna picks up the radio frequency signal and demodulates the signal, and we have a received electrical signal. And the wave shape is nothing but a sinusoidal wave. So this is the radio waves propagates through and from the antenna. And the characteristics will be, it is easy to generate, can travel long distance, penetrate through buildings, omnidirectional, and prime source of interference is impairment is interference. And applications, it is used in FM radio and UHF and VHF, ultra high frequency and very high frequency television. Now, microwave transmission, it is a directional travel in a straight line and can be narrowly focused by using an antenna, and sender and the receiver use some sort of dish antenna as shown in the figure. And so the receiving antenna and the transmitting antenna will be carefully aligned so that the electromagnetic wave will propagate through this, which we call microwave. And this will be the signal propagation, transmitting and receive antenna, line of sight. And this physical characteristics, therefore, travel in a straight line. The transmitting and receiving antenna, therefore, must be accurately aligned. Otherwise, we couldn't able to receive the signal, and do not pass through buildings well obstructed by solid objects. Fewer amplifiers or repeaters than coaxial cable over the same distance, but requires line of sight transmission. And atmospheric conditions interferes, which is rain, lightning. That is why when there is a storm and when there is a rain, where we couldn't able to see the transmission, the TV transmission will remain off. And there is another disadvantages, say this will be the line of sight, but the microwave bounces like this in the outer space. And this is known as a multipath interference. And due to that, this is the disadvantage of a microwave transmission. And the distance between antennas, this formula, you know this, and the deduction of this formula is not required. And here it will be the distance between the antennas in kilometers, and h is the antenna height, and k is an adjustment factor. And to achieve a long distance transmission, a series of microwave relay towers is used. And it is used for long distance telephone communication, cellular phones, and closed circuit TVs. Now satellite, here the transmission is transmission and reception is being done with the help of satellite. And this is, we call it to be a geostationary satellites. And it will placed above the equator at a height this miles from the to have an orbital period of 24 hours. It travels around the earth exactly the same time the earth takes to rotate. So here we have this is a satellite. We have two dish antenna here. One is transmitting in antenna, and another is receiving antenna. Now here, when we are going to upload any information, it will first go to the satellite through the through this antenna, which is known as uplink frequency. And then when we are going to download the information, with the help of it will again done with the help of a dish antenna, and we have a download frequency. Both uplink and download frequencies are not same, they are different. Now we have two types of communications, point to point. This is a point to point from one earth station to the satellite and then to the receiving antenna. Then we have a multi-point, so that we have a single transmitter and multiple receivers. So this is a single transmitter and we have a multiple receivers. So there will be 3 bands and 3 bands use 3 different frequency range. For C band, 4 gigahertz will be the downlink frequency and 6 gigahertz will be the uplink frequency. If it is a KV band, 12 gigahertz will be the downlink frequency, 14 gigahertz will be the uplink frequency, or the frequency range is from 12 to 14. And in Ka band, it is 19 gigahertz to 29 gigahertz. And it is used in television in distribution. Now, another disadvantage of microwave transmission is delay in transmitting the same information if we are going to transmit with the help of a cable and with the help of a satellite. Because in case of this, first we have to transmit the transmitting antenna will transmit the information through the satellite, and then it will be downloaded by the information is being downloaded, and the receiving antenna will capture that signal. So since it is nothing but an electrical signal, or there will be a delay in uplink and downlink. Whereas in case of cable transmission, there will be no delay. That is why if you observe, if you are observing any program in a TV, which is where we are using satellite transmission, and if you are watching a program in a cable TV, you will see in cable TV the information comes first, then that of a TV which are using satellite transmission. Whether you have noticed this or not. Yes. Now, besides this, so delay, I have already told you about this. Now come to the infrared. Infrared, it is also light waves. It travels in free space, and it also requires a line of sight, because in a remote control, we are using this infrared to send the information. And if it is not properly aligned, we couldn't able to operate it correctly. So the physical characteristics, it will be directional, widely, and it is used for short range communication. In wireless LAN, we can use this medium, or here we are using TV. For as a TV remote, we are using infrared. It is cheaper and do not pass through solid objects, which is a major drawback. And applications, TV remote control and indoor wireless LAN. So this is all about the transmission medium. Now we go for a second chapter. So the transmission medium is clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we come to the topic which is known as flow control. Now flow control, I have told you that when we are going to send the information to a receiver, or when a sender is sending an information to the receiver, and if the sender runs at a higher speed than that of from of the receiver, the speed of the receiver, then the receiver will not accept the information and process it. So to keep the slow receiver from fast responding sender, so that they can able to exchange information between each other, this flow control mechanism is being used. and this make that to make sure that the slow responding receiver can able to receive information from the fast responding sender. This can be done with the help of an acknowledgement signal, and this acknowledgement signal, this comes from the receiver to the sender, and it uses for two purposes, or this acknowledgement signal serves two purposes. That means the slow responding by sending an acknowledgement to the sender from the receiver. That means when a slow responding receiver sends an information acknowledgement signal to the first responding receiver, it will serves two purposes. First, when the acknowledgement is received by the sender from the receiver, it means that the receiver has accepted the information sent by the sender, and it also this acknowledgement also tell the sender that it can able to send the next data frame to the sender, to the receiver. So here this is the receiver provided with a control to regulate the flow of the incoming frame, and this control is in the form of an acknowledgement signal, and this serves two purposes. It clears the sender to transmit the next data frame, and it acknowledges receipt of all previous frames. That means when the sender receives a acknowledgement signal from the receiver, it means that the sender receiver has received the frame, as well as it will also, we will see later on, the sender will send an acknowledgement if it receives the data frame correctly, also without an error. If it receives an data frame with an error, then it will not send an acknowledgement signal. In that case, after waiting for a certain amount of time, the sender will again send the data frame. Clear? Pardon? Okay. Yes, SEK signal. Yes, that's right. Now there are two types of this, how the acknowledgement signal is being sent. For this we have two types of techniques. One is known as stop and wait protocol, and another is known as sliding window protocol. Now in stop and wait protocol, the receiver provides the feedback to the sender just like this. The sender first send say the information packet is being divided into more than one number of packets, and this has been, and we have to put a sequence number on the data packet, like packet 0, packet 1, packet 2, etc. So when the sender sends a first packet, and the receiver will receive the packet, and it when it receives the packet, and it receives the packet without an error, it will send an acknowledgement SEK0 to the sender, and when the sender receives the acknowledgement signal, it will send the next data packet, and so on. So that is why it is stop and wait protocol. That means the sender sends an packet to the receiver, and then sender is waiting for an acknowledgement which is coming from the receiver. So it is known as stop and wait. And this is the time which the sender will wait to receive an acknowledgement from the receiver. So in stop and wait flow control mechanism, only one data frame is sent at a time and each frame is individually acknowledged. Now here the link utilization will be less than that of the we will see later on in sliding window protocol. Now how we are going to calculate the link utilization capacity? It is we are using this formula. From this diagram, it will be clearly understood by us. So say this is the sender A and this is sender receiver B. Now the sender sender A will send the data frame D and it will take certain amount of time, and after certain amount of time the whole frame is received by the receiver, and this is known as frame transmission time, which is denoted by T suffix small f. This is the transmission time, and it is equals to L by R, where L is the length of the data frame and R will be the data rate. So the TF is in unit of time. Clear? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in electronic circuit, we all know that there will be a delay. So, after it will, now when the receiver receives the frame completely, and say this will be the end of the data frame. So the total time by which the receiver will receive the data frame will be TR plus TP, which is the delay time. Now again, when the receiver receives the frame, it will send an acknowledgement frame. Now acknowledgement frame will be smaller in size than that of the actual data frame. Now while we are calculating link utilization efficiency of a stop and wait flow control mechanism, one point is to be taken here, that the size of the data frame will be the size of the acknowledgement frame will be always less than the size of the data frame, which is actually the case. So say, and this will take there will be a delay, and then it will receive an acknowledgement frame, and then the sender will again send the next data frame. So from here, the TP is the propagation time, which we call to be a delay time. So the receiver receives the frame after TR plus TP, which is the data frame, and the acknowledgement frame received by the sender after TR plus 2TP. So the total amount of time required will be TR plus 2TP. After that interval of time, the sender will send the next data frame. Clear? Total round trip time, that means transmission and receiving of the acknowledgement frame, it is this total time is known as round trip time, and it will be TF plus 2TP. So the link utilization, so the sending end will receive an acknowledgement after TR plus 2TP, and then can send the next data frame immediately thereafter. So out of this total time, how long the link will be activated? Hello? কি করে হয়? এটা দেখে বললে, আমার নোটসটা দেখে বললে, কেন বলতে পারলে না? কারণ টিএফ সময় ধরেই তো ডেটা ফ্রেমটা আসছে, সুতরাং সেই সময়টাই লিঙ্কটা ইউটিলাইজড হচ্ছে ডেটা সেন্ড করার জন্য। বাদ বাকি টিপিটা তো আনইউটিলাইজ। ইন দ্যাট টাইম উই আর নট গোইং টু সেন্ড এনি ডেটা। So the link utilization efficiency will be TF divided by TF plus 2TP, isn't it? Out of this total time, this time is taken for transmitting the data, actual information. Clear? So, and it will be, and if we represent A by TPR by L, here R, I have already told you that L is the data, R is the data rate, and L is the size of the frame or number of bits in it. Because if it is this is number of bits and this is bit per second, so TF is in second. So this will be the link utilization efficiency. And here to find out this value of link utilization, and we are going to assume this: the receiver sends back acknowledgement immediately on the receipt of a data frame, and the size of the acknowledgement frame is very small, and there are no errors in the data frame or its acknowledgement. So in stop and wait protocol, the source sends a packet only after the acknowledgement is received from the destination to send the next packet. So there will be a delay, and then during that time the channel bandwidth is not used. That means, say, the channel can able to accept more data bits than that the data frame sent by the stop and wait protocol. So the link utilization efficiency will be less in stop and wait protocol. And to utilize this, we are going to use sliding window protocol, sliding window flow control protocol. There we will see we are going to send, without waiting for an acknowledgement from the receiver, the sender will send the sender will send the data frames, and when the acknowledgement is being received, sent by the receiver to the sender, it will acknowledges all the previous frames sent by the sender. So in this way, the link utilization efficiency will be increased by sliding window protocol. We will discuss it more in our next class. So I am ending up here, and thank you very much for listening. I will discuss sliding window, but the difference you clearly understood. In sliding window, we are going to send more than one data frame at a time, so that we can utilize the link efficiency without waiting for the acknowledgement from the receiver. And when the sender will receive the acknowledgement from the receiver, It means that it will acknowledges all the data frames sent by the sender to the receiver correctly without an error. Whereas in stop and wait, we are going to send one frame at a time. Here we are going to send more than one frame at a time, because we are not waiting for the sender is not waiting for receiving individual acknowledgement of the frame from the receiver. Clear? Okay. Thank you very much for listening. And
Thank
I
you,
will
ma'am.
send you the notes on error control and transmission medium. And flow control, I will. Oh, okay, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thanks for listening. I am leaving now.